Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Last Son, and today is day 10 of the TEW IX Dev Journal. Today we're going to get into a few different topics. Some are exciting, some are not as exciting as others, but they're still good things, I think. And we'll start with Media Scrums. So, brand new to the game are Media Scrums. So, it's where you, as the head booker, sits down and fields questions from the wrestling media. They're only available for companies of medium size or larger, only after normal intent events, and only if morale effects are enabled. So you can control whether or not you're going to be able to do these or not. Participation is entirely optional. There's no penalty for skipping it. Once you start one, though, you have to stay until you answer all the questions in order to stop you from just being able to easily avoid tough questions. There's a limit on how many questions you can be asked, so you'll never face an overwhelming amount of questions. Each question will have 3 different flavors or text versions to add variety and can have between 2 and 5 pre-written answers to choose from. The reason to take part in a media scrum is it gives you the opportunity to boost the morale of both the locker room and individual workers based upon your replies. So you'll be building relationships with your roster and improving your own reputation. In fact, media scrums is they're one of the only ways you can build your reputation as a booker without needing to book great shows. The downside is you may be asked tricky questions, and bad answers can lead to morale issues, complaints, and even ruin your relationships with people if you throw them under the bus. So the questions asked in the list of potential answers are all contextuals and can be based off an event that just ran, recent important happenings in the game world, upcoming events, what your rivals are doing, etc. Some answers are going to be positive, some can be neutral, some can be negative, regardless of context, but they can have many different impacts depending on the situation and the people in question. The members of the media will remember previous answers and can react negatively to either you just being inconsistent or if you just outright lie, and can also follow up on previous answers, either in the same media scrum or in a later one if they sense a juicy story. In some cases, if the user is just clearly lying, this can lead to very difficult follow up questions where it may be impossible to avoid negative effects at that time. Then, when you choose an answer, you'll sometimes get instant feedback telling you of its effect. Other times, you may not know what happens, what consequences you're facing. You have to just find clues for how they reacted. Other times, you'll just be so neutral or uncontroversial that they just do nothing. In fact, sometimes that's the best thing to do. You survive these things just by giving boring platitudes as answers, and you're kind of taking the safe road to where you're not potentially causing any negative effects. So, one question you're thinking, well, that if I play this game for many, many, many years, I'll probably find out all the questions, and that's possible. There's they're trying their best to avoid the obvious trap of repetition. There's over 270 questions for release day, and it's also been set up so they can actually patch in additional questions post launch. So you're going to see some that's like, obviously, you're going to see some quite often, like, hey, how'd you feel about the event? But the sheer amount means that there's plenty of scope for finding new content, even when you've been playing the game for quite some time. So it's going to be the primary design was they wanted to create a feature that was fun to play with, but also adds realism. So it gives us as bookers a new and more subtle way to interact with the locker room and adds to the sense of us actually being the head booker and needing to deal with being a spokesperson for the company. The next thing we're going to talk about is attendance levels. Attendance levels at higher levels have been slashed across the board, particularly for events, with the importance of the event now being far more important to the calculation than in the past. So, truly record breaking, massive attendance levels are now locked only to those most prestigious of events. This brings the figures more in line with reality. So in real world mods, for example, you're only going to see those huge 80,000 plus attendances for shows like WrestleMania. So that means it's going to even be more of a key to build up historic, legendary events for your company. It's really going to be something that you need or you want to do is build up those events that become legendary for your company, like a WrestleMania. I mean, every company you can name, one event that is kind of like their signature. WrestleMania, TNA has Bound for Glory, you know, AEW has Double or Nothing, I think is one of the ones that they consider their biggest. Could become All In, with them building that in England and potentially Europe. So that's a pretty cool idea. It's a pretty cool thing. The next thing we're going to talk about is the owner booker relationships. So the relationship, if any, between an owner and the user head booker is now more important as it impacts the type and difficulty of the owner goals. If you have a good relationship, the owner is going to give you easier goals and potentially different types of goals. If you have a horrible relationship, you're probably going to get a lot of very difficult goals. This is going to give another realistic touch that makes your avatar feel like it's more part of the game world and not just an exception to the game world. You can now toggle graduation by request. Graduation of AI generated rookie workers can now be toggled on and off in the options menu. This, along with some other settings, allows character generation to be turned off entirely if you want, because you could have a database that has a large supply of pre-made rookie workers. So you just don't want to have graduation from these training facilities. Company headquarters. Companies can now build a physical headquarters with the investment screen. So you get some minor benefits to your prestige and influence if you have a headquarter. Some, you know, companies, you can set them up in the editor to have a headquarters already when you start a game for those realistic, real world mods. WWE can have a company headquarters. AEW could have one in Jacksonville. Along with the company headquarters, as another possible investment is the next feature, Physical Hall of Fame. You can now choose to build a Physical Hall of Fame. The only requirement would be that you have at least a minimum number of people inducted into your Hall of Fame before this can happen. Having one gives the company some minor benefits to your prestige and influence, and companies can be preset to have Hall of Fame via the editor. Next one, I'm really excited about this. I think depending on how it looks in the game, it could be something really cool, is the developmental report. The developmental screen now includes detailed text scouting reports on each worker, giving the user more data which to gauge whether the worker is ready to be called up or not. I think that's really awesome. I think that's going to add, kind of like a realistic view of where you can be like, hey, what is this worker doing? What does the scouting report say on this guy sent down to developmental? Is he or she progressing? This will actually be able to potentially give us that little bit more data. Depends on how accurate these things are, and if it's a variable, like depending on how much maybe size your company is, you may get more accurate, or if it's just always going to be accurate. So that'll be something that remains to be seen. Attribute additions. Many brand new attributes requested over the past 4 years in the suggestions forums have now been added. Adam says he's not going to list them out here, but he instead is going to leave them for the player to discover once the game is out. Another new feature is database summary. By request, the editor now has a summary screen for a quick overview of how many items are in each category, number of workers, number of broadcasters, companies, etc. This info has not been easily available in one place since the editor changed to the new style, so it may be of some use to database makers. And I think it will be. I think it'll be nice for them to see if they're close to maybe their target worker count, how many broadcasters they have, etc. I think that'll be a nice change for database makers. And then we have broadcaster coverage comparisons. The broadcaster coverage editing screen now allows for on-screen comparisons to other broadcasters and also adds a cloning process that can be applied to quickly fill in the information of one broadcaster by copying it into another broadcaster details and then just making changes as needed. This is just some little quality of life extras to make life easier for the database makers. So I personally think these are all great features. Every day it seems to build my excitement for this game. I can't wait for the 27th. We are now 15 days away as of today, the Friday, July 12th. I'm going to be watching the Grey Dog forums for the release of the beta on that Saturday, July 27th, like a kid on Christmas, excited. Get in, play, show you guys some of the footage from it. Like maybe I'll do a video where we're just going through the different menus and looking at the game, and then we'll get into booking actual you know a beta save, for the lack of a better term. It won't be a very long one. It'll just be like a week before the release of the main game. So I hope you guys have been enjoying these daily looks at the TEW 9 development journal. This weekend we don't have any, so I'll be back on Monday with a new day of features to talk about. And also Mondays is when I release my Black Canvas Grappling King of Puro TEW 2020 save. So I'll have a couple videos coming out on that day. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you do, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification so you can know when I put these videos and other videos out. And as always, I'm Last Son. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys in our next video.